Which cartoon character had the best character development and why? Philip J. Fry from Futurama. I know it's a comedy show, but the most heartbreaking moments involve Fry and just how much he means to everyone or how much he does to help. I am only just realizing his growth as a character as I grow older too. A down in the dumps, not so smart pizza delivery boy who is catapulted into a new life, and what does he do? Forgives his brother and appreciates his nephew. Is best friends and roommates with a robot who has almost as many problems as he does. Was the first kind person to Leela and was ready to die for her on multiple occasions. Saved the professor from humiliation. Saves universe more than once and comforts his mother just by dream hugging her, secretly knowing that's what they both needed. Fry deserves more love and appreciation. Kazuko from Emperor's New Groove. Spoiled brat with everything, to spoiled brat with nothing, to less spoiled brat learning about teamwork, to fairly normal person, to getting everything back but not being spoiled anymore, but rather respectable. That scene where he saved Pasha's life and was celebrating was a true turning point. He realized he could get a great feeling by doing good rather than just fulfilling his own desires. Also a good lesson for the target audience. While Zuko is the best one, Angela's decay into insanity was good. Sure, she starts evil, but all her frustrations add up. I feel like Hank Hill really grew throughout the series. It's really a show about the father-son relationship, and you get to see how his relationship with Cotton affected him. He doesn't fully understand Bobby, but I think his motivation in trying to comes from not wanting to be like Cotton. Carl from Up. I'm still mind blown that Pixar was able to create such a compelling story that addressed grief and loss, the realization childhood dreams, being a father figure, and the search for meaning in life all into one animated movie. Raven from Teen Titans. She grew up thinking that destiny was an unchangeable reality, succumbing to the threats of her father, and living a life full of anxiety and isolation because of her fears. Before dying, she had the hope that she was wrong about everything and gave each of her friends a portion of her soul to survive the brought forth apocalypse, granting them the chance they needed to survive and fight a bit longer. After all was said and done, and after it had cost her her very own life, she finally understood that her destiny was what she chose for it to be and not what others told her it was. Though she failed the first time, she was given a second chance to change it all and took it. Having grown from that experience, she came back stronger, more balanced, and more trusting in those who loved her, chose who truly was her family, and ended up saving her world from her father. Truly a great metaphor for life's choices, free will, and the dooming feeling of a predestined life. A great arc for a great character. Both Woody and Buzz from Toy Story, especially the first one. Woody goes from being Andy's favorite to playing second fiddle early on, and has a really big shock to his system. Then he goes on a redemption arc where he gets rid of his jealousy. Buzz goes from believing he's the real Buzz Lightyear, to having reality crash down on him, and then overcomes his depression when he finds his new purpose, to bring kids joy. Sokka from Atla. He is underrated and often overshadowed by Zuko, partly because his character is often used for comedic relief. However, his development from a sexist alpha male mentality kid to a true leader is great to look at and something a lot of viewers could actually relate to more than to Zuko. Grunkle Stan from Gravity Falls. That whole show had great characters, but Stan had the most interesting ups and downs, excluding Zuko, as that's a given. Toph from ATLA has one of my favorite developments of all time, and it's extremely subtle. Her arc revolves around two things: accepting who she is even with her insecurities, and accepting the love she gets from the Gong. She hides a lot of herself behind a tough persona early on, especially in the episode Bitter Work, where she uses a very tough love approach to teach on earthbending. But in scenes such as her story in Tales of Ba Sing Sae and her conversation with Iroh, we see her start to accept herself for who she is, and she opens up more and more throughout the series. It's overshadowed by bigger character developments like Zuko's and Sokka's, unfortunately. Diane Nguyen from BoJack Horseman. I like how she came to terms with herself despite starting out with a false sense of self. Pops from Regular Show. He seems like an old goofball. But, spoiler for show that ended years ago, he ends up giving his life to save the universe. Currently rewatching Lilo and Stitch, and I want to toss in Stitch. Sure, he became more of a mascot to sell toys. But the movie does a great job showcasing his change from a being solely bent on destruction to an essential part of Lilo and Nani's family. Vegeta. He went from a villain to reluctant hero/rival to Goku to husband and father. Then he had his redemption in the Buu Saga. Rigby from Regular Show. He goes from lazy duck that doesn't care about anything to a great guy that truly does care about his friends. I really love Simba. Goes from a spoiled kid to wanting to be brave to impress his dad to experiencing unbelievable trauma and guilt to repressing it all as a carefree young adult to finally accepting his destiny as king. But even when he goes back to fight Scar, he isn't willing to really break free of his guilt until Scar reveals that he killed Mufasa. Aside from the Gong in Avatar, I'm going to say Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. He went from this unconfident little kid who was struggling to find his place in society to a brilliant leader who forged his own path. #DR. Heinz Doofenshmirtz. Every episode we get more and more of his backstory to see why he is the way he is. Over the Garden Wall had so many amazing character developments. And lots of twists and turns. Pacifica Northwest from Gravity Falls started off as a snobby rich girl before mellowing out and almost stopping the apocalypse. Faye Valentine, if your heart didn't shatter into a million pieces for her during the VHS tape scene or the stick-drawn bed or when she's pleading with Spike not to leave, then I don't know what to say. The Elric brothers from Full Metal Alchemist. In Ben 10, Alien Force Ben really took the position as leader of the group serious. And every bad thing that happened, he blamed himself. This is a nice contrast to his old self in original Ben 10, in which he was just a cocky, hot-headed, 10-year-old boy who was just still learning about his powers. The character arcs in Samurai Champloo are very well written. They each grow into people they wouldn't have been if they hadn't teamed up. Killua from Hunter x Hunter. Considering his background and his attitude in the first arc, and how much he changes into as the series goes on. From child assassin who gleefully murders to perhaps an empathetic and loving friend. There are some great answers here, but they all pale in comparison to Doug Dimmadome, owner of the DIMM's Dale Dimmadome, especially after they found his long-lost son, Dale Dimmadome, heir to the Dimmadome fortune. You could argue Harley Quinn was and is the most developed character from Batman the Animated Series, as her arc survived what in reality was to be the bimbo sidekick just for that animated run. Her character morphed into a longer set of stories in later comics, further animated series, and full-length feature films. That has gone on just shy of 30 years.